All right, all right, all right. And we are a little late because, well, we were definitely a lot late because we were trying to coordinate things, and now we're just a little late. Hopefully, Rune gets here in a little
I was
bit.
gonna say
And,
5 minutes is on time for us, really.
yeah, so we're going to work around Rune, and if he's late, we'll work around with some other things. So, how's your week been, Mr. Church? That's some.
There was a week.
Yeah, there was.
I was unaware.
It's actually been like 2 weeks since we last did a show.
It was like
But
just yesterday that I was going to bed on time.
mm, mm. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about, and you're in one of the hot and heavy things right now. You're in Pokemon, but with guns.
Yeah, Pal World. Pal World's pretty good. I'm not currently in Pal World. I am currently working as per usual, but no, been playing a little Pal World survival game where you get dropped on an island, have to build up a base. Make your clothes from the wool from the sheep you bash over the head with a baseball bat.
I mean, that's
Uh,
that's like real life, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how I get my clothes. But no, other than
So
that,
so so I've heard from people that it's like a combination of a shooter, um, a
there are
uh,
guns.
a survival sort
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
crafting game,
Hmm.
and you got Pokemon or
Yeah.
pals rather.
Yeah. Like I said earlier before we went on air, there's some riffraff on the internet who seem to think that Power World knocked off Pokemon, and I'm here to say that cute fictional animals are not completely owned by Nintendo.
Mm, mm, mm.
And unless Nintendo wants to give Snorlax an AK-47, which I'm completely on board for.
So, have you shown your kids Pal World?
Yes, my daughter thinks that all the animals are adorable until I start bashing them on the head.
Mm, mm. That is a problem, I suppose. So, like, how's the crafting mechanics work out? Is it like a good
Uh,
crafting mechanic game?
so far, I'm only like 8 days in to the game itself, and I mean it's fairly rudimentary right now. I mean, you find wood, you find stone, you find twine, you find wool. You make very rudimentary things. Like I said, I just upgraded to the baseball bat from the standard wooden club. They're the technology tier, so you got a little bit of civilization mechanics worked in there as well.
Hmm.
The higher level you get and the more things you discover, the more technology points you unlock to build other things, including add-ons for the pals, like being able to interact with them outside of your party.
Mm.
Uh, if you set up a base within the circle of that base, pals will start doing jobs and collecting resources on your base.
Okay.
But I
Uh,
mean, as far as the overall crafting goes, like I said, it's fairly rudimentary. It's a lot similar to 7 Days to Die that I talked about earlier. First thing you're going to craft is like a stone pickaxe and a stone axe, and then you're going to start finding metal. You're going to build a furnace. You're going to start refining ore. You're going to make nails. You're going to get a higher level crafting bench. That's going to upgrade some of your crafting levels. Uh,
it's stuff that anybody who's played a crafting game will have experienced 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Nothing. It's nothing new, but it's pretty good. It's been a while since I found a game that I could sit down and start playing and look up from and be like, "Damn, that's 4 hours that just went by."
Exactly.
There's a respawn mechanic, so if you die, you don't really like you can change the difficulty setting. Like you can do everything's gonna go away when you die. Run. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a casual setting where if you die, you just try again. It's not only multiplayer, which was one thing that I was a little bit concerned about when I first heard about the game, because I don't like multiplayer games usually unless I know the people I'm playing with. So you're never going to catch me in like another MMO with a big broad world of people because people are assholes, and I don't do well in that situation.
I mean,
Plus,
that makes sense.
I'm not a hardcore gamer. I'm not gonna beat the game in 20 hours and know everything about it. I just want to fuck around. Like
Yeah,
if I want to take my pickaxe and I want to go mine stone for an hour and not think about anything but sit here mining my stone, I could do
and
that in this game.
you could use your stone to make it like a giant barbecue pit with.
Furnace, but yes, I also they're the quality of so on your base. The higher level your base is, you can deploy. I think the limit is 15 of your pals to work your base.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a quality of life aspect, so you kind of have to monitor the what your pals on base are saying and how they're feeling. If they're injured, you got to put them back in the box to heal. Um, Build them beds, make hot springs for them they can relax in. The night and day system that I'm not too fond of, but you build a bed, you can sleep through the night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
That's pretty good.
all in all, it's a fun game. I can see why people like it. Also, the price point right now is for what you get, $26 on Steam. Very
Nice.
it's very budget friendly.
Wait, you're saying that you're not paying $70 for a good quality fun game?
No, no, and so far, I think it's still in alpha or beta testing, which is why it's cheap. But still, I don't think they're going to take the game away from me when they launch officially.
Yeah. They're also
So,
planning to do like an actual campaign mode.
right, and that would be interesting to see, like a story mode or whatever. Like, there's kind of a story mode already. Like, you dropped onto the island, you basically are there to take over the island. Um, the fast travel system that's pretty good. You can the further out you explore, you can just kind of keep bopping back to the furthest point and keep exploring, finding new things.
Mm, mm, mm. So I got some
I like it.
reviews for the people today. We're going
Okay.
to talk about Dawn of DC Superman number 10. So, like Superman, the Man of Steel, he got forced back into time because of shenanigans with another superhero who's a black mystical psychic cowboy lady. And it's all about Superman in the Old West version of Metropolis trying to recover. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Church. Wasn't Metropolis in proper DC Comics continuity on the East Coast?
I've always understood it that Metropolis and Gotham City were meant to represent the streets of New York during night and daytime.
Do you think it's possible that they're going with with the continuity what the Zack Snyder movies did with Metropolis being San Francisco and Gotham being Oakland?
That would be terrible, but I mean, I guess it could work.
I mean, Oakland is a pretty nasty city, so it certainly
I mean,
relates a
with,
lot.
with that with Batman, I don't think Oakland would stand a chance. They don't have a Riddler or a Joker.
Mm, that's a good point. That's a good point. And also in DC Comics continuity proper, they had I think it was Gateway City, wasn't it? That was their analog to San Francisco.
I think so.
Wonder Woman was the superhero there at one point.
Yeah, when she was wearing black leather.
Mm, mm. And they also have Jump City that's also been San Francisco or a San Francisco analog.
Yeah, that makes me think though, because isn't the Flash supposed to be from like Minnesota or some shit?
I think he's from like St. Louis.
From where?
St. Louis. I think Central City is St. Louis.
thought it was the Twin Cities, Central City and Keystone City.
Hmm. You see, I always thought Keystone City was Philadelphia. This is why I don't like comic book settings with fake city names.
Let me look here. Mm, Metropolis and Gotham are New York City. Gateway City. Uh, bu- 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 doesn't say. Harbor Town, blah, blah. Star City is San Francisco. Yeah, Central City is Kansas City, roughly.
Hmm.
Interesting. National City is Washington, D.C. or Los Angeles, depending on the writer. Yeah, this is confusing. I don't like it.
I don't care for it either. I don't care for it either. So in this comic, we had a slightly depowered Superman as he was recovering from kryptonite. Then some weird time traveler was there, stole a time travel device, and the black superhero lady inspired a version of herself, which was like her grandmother or something, which made her be a superhero.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's okay. And then they got back to the main plot line that Lex Luthor had secretly been a superhero this whole time, and Superman is being forced to join the Lex Luthor Revenge Society. What I
You just
like
go
about
back
this
to
is
Gay Superman and Nightwing. I like that better.
no, 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 no. Hold up. So this is all part of a thing where Superman is trying to build trust and rapport and stuff with Lex, and use Lex's international company resources to, make the world a better place. LexCorp is now SuperCorp, and all of Lex's employees work for Superman, which is an interesting idea, and it's also extremely basic Superman stuff. It's like basic, normal, generic Superman, and
Well, it goes back to a problem that I've had with these stories for a long time, in that how many more times are we going to see this? Because inevitably one of two things are going to happen. One,
mm,
Lex Luthor is going to turn out to be from an alternate dimension and not actually Lex Luthor because Lex Luthor is inherently evil. Or
mm,
two, Superman's going to realize he not only traveled back in time, but to an alternate dimension where Lex Luthor is not actually inherently evil. Or three, Superman's going to turn out to be actually evil. Those are the only ways it can go.
actually, what I think is going to happen is they're going to defeat these people who are wanting to get revenge on Lex Luthor. And then Lex is going to say, "Thank you for helping me solve my problem, Superman, but I want to go back to being evil." That's how I think things are going to
That was the first
probably
thing that
play
I
out.
said.
Um, Lex Luthor is like, a clone or something like that.
No, no, no. I mean, it basically it always ends up with Lex going back to being evil because he has to.
He does
All
have
over
to.
losing his luscious red hair because someone mistakenly drew him for what was that fucking character's name? Uh, bu- 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 who was that guy that they missed? Ultra Humanite. They mistakenly drew the Ultra
Mm.
Humanite in place of Lex Luthor, and therefore they had to retcon how he went bald.
They should have made it because of 40 cakes, and that's just awful. So I'm going to reference something I picked up randomly at the comic book shop this week because it got me thinking. Got me thinking about introducing new comic book universes. I picked up the Ghost Machine one-shot comic book. Oop, wrong one. Let's do this one. So Ghost Machine is this imprint that has like Brian Hitch, Jeff Johns, a whole bunch of people behind it. And this is like a bunch of comic shorts involving a couple of the characters, and then stuff that's very much like the old, you know, the Who's Who books that they used to publish for Marvel and DC, letting you know who all the superheroes were. And I used to buy the shit out of those comics when I was a kid.
Yeah.
They also set up a timeline, to let you know where all these different comics were happening in this same universe. Who's who and when, and I thought that was all kind of neat. I thought that's a great way to introduce a brand new comics universe to a new set of fans. Now, admittedly, this is an Image comic, so for those of you who don't know, Image Comics is not really based around sales or anything. It's basically you pay them, then they pay you back something out of your profits if you have any. House doesn't lose
Well,
in that
I mean,
scenario.
were you reading comics heavily when Image founded?
Yes.
So you remember how they did their opening line of comics.
Hmm.
So every comic basically had every other writer and artist guest starring with their character in it. Basically, for the first 10 issues of every book, it was like guest appearance or new
Hmm.
character. It actually led to one of the more interesting lawsuits in comic about the ownership of Angela and Medieval Spawn.
Well, that actually ended up being connected to the whole Miracle Man situation, too.
Right.
Which is one of the more hysterical things in comic book lawsuits. But the Image, their business now is they'll bring people in. You have to pay them the cost of producing your book and marketing and distributing it, and then they cut you in what your take is on the actual sales. But again, you got like Jeff Johns, you got like Brian Hitch, you got a lot of high name comic book talent. You got good quality artwork, as the people can see by clicking on that link there. So it's really a good book that hey Rune, it's a good way to introduce a comic book universe. But you know what's not a good way to introduce a comic book universe is to say that our business is in failure, and that we're going to talk about Alphacore. I got Church in on the Alphacore game a little bit before the start of the show, because Church didn't catch the link earlier. So Rune, share with the people your thought about Chuck Dixon's Alphacore.
What if, under the auspices of everybody doesn't like what the big businesses are doing, we did everything the big businesses are doing, but we then did it badly and uninterestingly?
I mean, that's a strong statement there.
To be more specific, for people who are interested, Alphacore is a shocking, and I say shocking, argument. What if the Avengers or the Justice League, take your pick, because they're really unclear about which one it is.
It's more like Heroes for Hire, but with Superman.
No. It has a Superman, but he also works for the government because they have a helicarrier that's not a helicarrier, because we go out of our way to make a joke about how it's got its
No, it's the Eagle's Nest.
No, it's the Airy.
Well, no, it's the Airy, which means Eagle's Nest, which is a Hitler reference, which is really weird to put in your superhero comic.
But we're gonna do all these things, and
Isn't
then
Chuck Dixon Jewish?
No, or at least I don't think he is.
But then, are you guys ready for the spin? Are you guys ready for the surprise?
I'm ready.
What if they were non-specifically evil, like the guys from The Boys?
I wouldn't say they were
Ooh.
evil, but I'd say they were stupid.
Everything in this and in Isom, because remember, they're connected, strongly implies they are non-specifically lawful evil, or at least lawful stupid. That they are not a good, but they wear the good guy flag. It's what if the Thunderbolts were the actual mainstream characters? Except
That's
not
actually
good
pretty good,
and not
right
interesting.
up to Civil War.
Well,
Hmm?
it was, but that's just it. This is what if we did the Thunderbolts and just jumped directly to their uninteresting participation in Civil War in a post-Civil War world. The original thesis of the Thunderbolts is quite interesting,
What
actually.
if the Avengers' arch nemesis replace the Avengers?
And what if in doing it they not only struggled with, well, why weren't we doing good guy shit before, but the perpetual fear that they would be discovered for who they really are. Because people seem to forget that the Thunderbolts were not originally a government organization, government running, government supported. They weren't the Marvel answer to the Suicide Squad. The Thunderbolts used to be an evil scheme, and it was a
Hmm?
secret that they were actually supervillains. you know,
Yeah, yeah.
but that's the thing. All of these comparisons are not being made for the snark. I know we love to be snarky. They're not being made to be dismissive because I read Alphacore. I really read it, right?
Hmm?
All of these comparisons are being made because Alphacore lacks, as a book, a voice of its own. It only exists as a book in comparison to other books. And again, it's leaning on the combination of what if we took the standard and inverted it? So our good guys are not good guys, which has been done. Thank you, Injustice. Thank you for taking the Justice Lord concept and running it into the ground so hard that it is now a video game franchise. You fucks. Uh, but it is also only defined by, hey, this is a Rippaverse joint. This is a Spike Lee joint. We're not your dads, DC or Marvel and or other corporate bodies. So buy our book because our book is the revolution. Yeah, we said so.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the art first, because that always gets
Wait,
churches' hackles in an uproar.
you guys talk about the art. I'm still here. I'm gonna get coffee.
Mm, mm. So, church, why don't you go into some of your artistic analysis?
Well, let us
It's
proceed
bad.
to do a deep analysis on this art.
Well, I
That all you
mean,
got for us, Ollie? It's really bad. Thank you, Ollie.
but no, more
And now for the weather.
seriously,
It don't rain.
we strongly think that not only were there 3D assets used and traced, um, but probably AI art.
AI assets as well, yeah. Because Six Fingers McGee appears in the book.
Yes.
Well, not
You
to.
got Homelander basically holding a dude with his wrist inverted upside down. Um, you also have a Rob Liefeld esque body horror image
Mm, mm, mm.
of the main character who looks like his front butt moved to the back.
Well,
Uh,
joking aside, since we are talking about the art, let's also mention because I think that the asset concept is a hot button issue, but people are so busy focused on that they're ignoring some other tangentially important things. Uh, the layout blocking is poor. There's lots of panels that are standalones that do not relate to their previous or subsequent panels, so it's not very sequential. It's not clear how individual panels relate. And more importantly, because this was one of the first things I noticed, like I read 5 pages and had to go back two. Uh, there's a panel where they have uh, primary 1-point perspective, right? And then it transitions to 2-point perspective, but the perspective is off. It's not just that it's two different styles of perspective drawing, it's literally wrong. They do not line up properly. So, a shot which has a character flying midair, where when he looks down, he's looking down onto rooftops, right? It's not curved, it's not adjusted where he's the primary point and you can tell that he's looking down at things, right? But as you get further back in the panel, it suddenly switches to the point of perspective of a different art piece with a point of perspective way in the back where the sun is coming up and or setting. It's kind of unclear.
Yeah, so the art's
fucking lazy.
not
You've
good.
also got him dropping a dude in the pool where it looks like he's about to drop him into onto the sidewalk. I mean, literally, when I read that page, I was like, "He's gonna kill this dude."
Which, well, I mean, that also relates to what I was talking about with the lack of cohesion between sequential pieces. Because, I mean, he could have floated off to the left and dropped the guy, and you would have realized, oh, he's dropping him in the pool, but the guy thinks he's going to be street pizza. And it doesn't do that. Also, kind of funny, that's the same panel where everybody is currently frolicking in the pool, but is seemingly magically unaware of the veritable army of police and sirens across the street.
How could you
Like,
be
no
unaware?
one-
Because their lights are taking up all the panels.
Right. And similarly, entirely unaware of green Homelander floating above their heads, holding a dude aloft. Because nobody sees that. Nobody's got a cell phone out, right? In fact, it's almost so bad that it's a Boondocks joint, right?
Mhm.
What am I doing? I don't have to get in a fight with you. I'm white.
But let's talk about the Chuck Dixon story, which Rimpa said, I could trade places with Chuck Dixon and no one's going to notice.
Well, I actually want to retract the previous joke. I believe it now, and that's not a good thing.
So my problem with this is we got like an X-Men subplot, but we don't, flesh that out. But there's
And we can't
tension.
use the word mutant, so we use the word exempts.
Yeah. That's less my concern and more the fact that we're getting told that there's a problem.
Well, let me just
We're not having it shown.
Let me stop on that for just a second, though. Exempt from what, Church? Tax?
Not having powers.
Not having. Okay, so they're weakness exempt.
Oh no, they have weaknesses. Like one of
Okay,
them's weakness was being fried by electricity. By the other one's not weakness.
Okay, so is like not paying is not having powers like imposed on us? Then are we?
I think they say exempt is a short for exemplaraneous, or it's not well thought out.
They're trying.
They could have called them Excelsior.
They're trying to use it as a shorthand for exemplary, but the problem is that some of us actually speak the human language or the English language. We don't just speak Ebonics around here.
Mm-hmm. But let's
speak for yourself.
Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts here. So we have an X-Men like subtext going on. But there's tension between people with powers and people without powers. But we don't see it shown to us. We have it told to us. And we have it told to us between one group of cops being uppity at another group of cops.
And
that's just weird.
Reason. For no
that's just weird.
Argument why.
Yeah, it's just weird. But the problem with the plot is a guy gets hired to do a thing, and they stop that guy, and then another guy does another thing, and he gets hired by the villain to cover up their tracks with the first guy. And our heroes don't know anything until they steal a flash drive from a bank vault. and then cause a 9/11 like event, and then the bad guys get away.
Well, hold on, Larry. Get a little ahead of yourself. See, when they got the flash drive, the first thing they said was, "Probably shouldn't put this in our computer."
And then they put it in the computer. That was the characters were acting stupid, but basically nothing really happened in this comic.
I believe that he's called in the. Let me check my notes here. A joke. Right, that's a joke, right? Yeah, it's a setup and a payoff for a thing called a joke, which is a humorous story with a punchline. Except it's not very good.
But we often talk when we get bad comics and bad TV shows about how you could restructure them and make them better. My problem with trying to do this for Alphacore is there's nothing there.
Who has the time?
I mean,
who has the time to write a full comic and redraw the whole thing?
I mean, Ethan hired a guy who did that to Isom 1 and 2. Who he edited Isom 1 and 2 together. Yep. The guy re-edited all the scenes in Isom 1 and 2 and put in new dialogue, and Ethan hired the guy.
It's fantastic. I love it.
He basically turned Isom into a Luke Cage alike, which is what we all expected.
What we wanted, really.
Yeah. But the problem is there's nothing substantive to Alphacore.
I want the panel of Isom walking down the street and a thought bubble over his head, just like bitches and hoes, bitches and hoes, bitches and hoes.
But I mean, with Alphacore,
you read Isom 1, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I did. And Isom 1, I just imagined that he would be walking down the street with a blank thought bubble over his head.
Maybe I'm just secretly racist, because I mean, all I can remember from Isom 1 is
secretly.
All I can remember from Isom 1 is just Isom walking on the street thinking bitches and hoes.
I unfortunately am afflicted with a good memory.
That's my problem. I have a shit memory.
You should drink more.
Maybe I was saving all of my memory pieces for better storytelling in other venues.
But yeah, the fundamental problem with Alphacore is these aren't really characters. You have lady with a bunch of whips. You have tough, strong guy. Why do you have tough, strong guy when you have Superman? I don't understand. The powers don't make sense.
When you got Superman.
Yeah, but Martian Manhunter could change shapes and read people's minds. He brought a whole different
in the right in the right situation.
You need a tough, strong guy because Marvel defined that you need a Hulk, and Image defined that better comics not only have everything all the other comics have, but they have all of those comics better. So you need a super team that has a Superman and a Hulk, because then when people get to their inevitable super arguments about who can kick whose ass, you can always say, well, Alphacore has the Hulk and they have Superman, so they always win. Because we're stupid like that.
That's implying someone knows what Alphacore is.
Also, it's core spelled Core, not core, spelled Corp.
Right. And it's supposed to be that way according to Eric July.
But why, though?
Because he did have breakfast.
My my notes imply yet again there's a specific sub-variation of the attempted joke called a pun. It's a pun, right? You guys have heard of these. I'm not just making up words, right? Okay.
But yeah, we don't recommend Alphacore number 1. If you bought it, good on you for supporting a guy who's running a business, and maybe it'll stay open. Maybe it won't implode. We'll have to find that out in the future. So now we dressed down Eric July because his product isn't good. But we were all excited about Eric July when he first came out. You know who else I was excited about when they first hit the scene? I was excited about Dizzy Pop. and Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss. And this year has taught me that I should be very, very circumspect on having hope about things. Because we got to see Hazbin Hotel, and Hazbin Hotel's not good. And it's actually worse than what she originally produced before A24 and Amazon Studios hooked up with her and gave her more money. So, Rune, have you actually watched the hotel?
Yes, I have watched the original Hotel, and I watched the uh, season starter for the new one, and I have seen a couple of clips here and there from the subsequent episodes that have come out. Um, I have some specific opinions about why some of the controversy is a nothing burger, but
Well,
I'm also more or less of the opinion, why is anyone surprised? You've seen what this looks like before.
so I want to first talk about. I may be biased against musicals. I'm gonna be open and willing to accept that that may be a problem for me. But each Hell of a Boss episode of 20 minutes has between 4 and 8 minutes dedicated to music, which is a lot. But
So
Rune,
I, I
when you're
am
writing,
I am actively biased against musicals, and I want to point out for our historians, because I think this is important. Visipop got her start, drew her highest starter fame, doing a music video.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and she clearly enjoys music. So all of those musical numbers in her shows are essentially the same level of self-indulgence we attribute Seth MacFarlane, who also likes show tunes
But
and
here's the
puts them
thing.
in his cartoons.
Here's the thing. Seth MacFarlane does one number typically when he does that,
Yep.
not two to three.
Well, in Hell of a Boss, she was good enough to keep it to, or they were good enough to keep it to, or whoever was good enough to keep it to one an episode. Possibly a little long, maybe a little overindulgent, but one.
But Rune, while you're not a fan of musicals, when you're writing, you've at least studied the theoretical writing and you've watched musicals.
Yes. I actually, here's the thing, it's weird. I hate musicals. I like the idea of music videos that tell stories.
Right. So
So,
what's
yeah.
the so how do you know that it's right for you to use a musical number as a storytelling device in your story?
All right. Theoretically,
Mm,
theoretically, okay.
mm,
A musical number or a musical interlude, because it doesn't have to be spoken, it could just be musical,
mm,
uh, is used to convey a deeper and more greater context of emotion
mm.
that a character is experiencing relative to the situation you are in, and hopefully ends on either a feeling where there is no resolution, usually because they're in a bad way, or is
A cathartic resolution.
right. It resolves in such a way as they have figured out what needs to happen next to progress the story.
But at its core, you need to have an emotional through line that makes you feel something in the
It's an
music,
emotional
right?
connection, not a sexual one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, the important thing that needs to be brought up for this point is in Hell of a Boss, the cathartic musical bits were often the team coming together, or the show tunes were the joke. And it is very important to reinstate the joke.
Right,
So, much like Seth MacFarlane and Peter singing Shaboopy, it was a gag,
right.
right?
So,
Show tune as gag can work.
right.
The
So
problem with the
let
problem
me
with as you
explain for
okay
Hazbin Hotel the problem with their musical numbers.
okay I
Almost
was
all
gonna
of
say it,
them
but feel
are
free.
devoid of emotions. There's like no emotional value. It's like a
Right,
marshmallow.
but there's a reason for that.
Hmm?
the reason, which is what I was gonna say, is the problem with Hazbin Hotel is the thesis of Hazbin Hotel, for our viewers who don't know, is what if the daughter of
And
Lucifer,
co-host.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what if the daughter of Lucifer was a Disney princess?
Oh, it's worse than that now, Rude.
No. Oh no.
It's gotten
no.
worse.
No. I know. I'm aware, but I'm getting at brass tacks thesis. All right. So what the original idea undoubtedly was before its mutation was what if the Princess of Hell was a Disney princess? So Disney princesses have musical numbers. They have emotive song pieces. The thing is, of course, is that I think the person making that idea failed to understand in their zealous appreciation of that material a secret about the rest of the world. And I'm going to share it here, first time, with the Gospel of Comics. Everybody hold on, because no one has ever pointed this out before in the history of reality. No one likes animated Disney musicals. We like the movies in total. We may like individual
The
characters.
children like them.
Children may like them because children like color and noise. But the fact of the matter is that when you really boil it down, okay, after the first couple dozen, okay, they become standardized. No one was impressed by Colors of the Wind. No one was impressed by Colors of the Wind because by that point, that was what you did. You had the opening female lead song about how complicated their life is, and then you had a story. And before that, or after that, I forget which organization it is, you had Mulan singing an unfortunate song about how complicated her life is. Because before that, you had Belle singing a song about how she wanted to see more of the world. And then before that, you had I Can Show You the World with Aladdin and Jasmine. And then before that, you had and rinse repeat 1,000 fucking times. We've seen it. We get it.
What about Rent? Rent was a thing.
You mean the thing on Broadway that is not a Disney movie?
But you know what is good for Rent the Musical? Was the South Park parody of it, where the lead song was "Everyone Has AIDS."
I mean, if we're going to talk about halfway decent musicals that no one has ever watched because nobody really watches musicals anymore since Cats, and we're going to talk about abortions that the guys who did South Park did that are halfway decent. People should see the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, but let me circle back to let me circle back to the songs that had meaning in Hazbin Hotel.
Right.
So the first song that had meaning was the villain introduction song, where he talked about how I'm the alpha male douchebag and hell is forever, and I'm just going to kill all y'all. And I'm the kingest dick of the kingest dicks. Because I'm Adam, the first man.
I like when a character puts it out on the table the first time you meet them. Makes life easier. Makes life easier.
It does.
I mean, let's face it. If Vizzipop was seriously trying to express a point, they would have had it sung by Andrew Dice Clay. But we'll let that slide.
I mean, it would have been much better if the character's voice was man. But they have one where the piece of shit porn star character and the bartender, who the fans want to get gay together, have a song about how their lives suck and how they've made bad decisions. And then there's the song where the Princess of Heaven and the Princess of Hell complain that heaven and hell are both random, that they don't know why anybody goes to either place. But we'll get to that problem in the world building in a little bit in the review. Those are the only 3 songs you have that have emotion. There's been about 27 songs in this goddamn show, including a song where the main character's girlfriend talks about wanting to be the partner, rhyming life with partner, because she won't say wife. Look, you're lesbians. Some lesbians call their partner their wife. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, and this is, I think this is probably going to be our first talking point, and I think this is an important conversation to have, which is, has been as intended.
Lesbians aren't real.
versus has been intended versus has been we got. I think has been as intended once upon a time, many moons ago.
Could have been
before-
interesting.
Not just could have been interesting, but before the rabid fan base that Visipop attracted, and before A24 Pictures, and before Amazon and the corporate interference that undoubtedly happened, right? And we know it happened because all the original voice cast got kicked for not being union.
When the
Right.
solution is, hey, everybody, fill out your union cards.
Right, and my standing argument is people are not putting together that you think they only kicked the voice talent and they didn't say, look, you've got to rewrite all this. Is they went out of their way to flanderize the material. If given 30 minutes a day or 30 minutes an episode to make lewd jokes and lascivious commentary where
And pornographic violence. Don't
and
forget
pornographic violence, where a given character was actually allowed to look at the two animated lesbians and say, so whichy is the wife? Visipop would have done it.
The
But
old
not on
Vizzy would have.
Amazon. Yeah, not on Amazon, not today. Not now. Not in current year. Not in hashtag what to.
So let's start off with your premise. The opening premise that they opened the show with. So God made everything. The angels made everything. They created the universe. There's good and evil. Angels, ordering the universe. And then there's Lucifer, who's kind of a goofball. And then there's Lilith, who tells Adam to get bent. And then Lucifer falls in love with Lilith. Then Lilith gives an apple to Eve. Free will, causing evil in the world. And Adam and Lilith get kicked into hell. Not Adam and Lilith, excuse me. Lucifer and Lilith get kicked into hell. And Lucifer, becomes a withdrawn, depressed weirdo. And Lilith, encourages demons to be demons. And Charlie, aka Charlotte, our main character, she wants to find a way to get people out of hell and into heaven. That's the setup. So the devil's daughter has the same character job as Jesus Christ in the Bible. On a well-written show, when the main character meets her father, and her father is kind of pushing back about her dream that he doesn't want her to do, he said, "Man, you sound just like my brother JC when he came down here, and I told him to get bent, and I don't want to tell you to get bent." Wouldn't that have made something more interesting in the show? That the show says, listen, this daughter of Lucifer wants to do what Jesus did, and Lucifer refused to let Jesus do it, but he's conflicted about letting his daughter redeem people. That could have been interesting. We could have felt something. But nah. They set up an ally to Charlotte Morningstar called the Radio Demon, who sounds cool, who looks cool, who's basically a weird Wendigo-looking demon when he's in his true demonic form, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. And it's clearly laid out. They've drawn the roadmap that he's the guy who Lilith ran away with to have an affair on Lucifer. And he then randomly goes to help, Lucifer's daughter achieve her dream. And it's obvious. It's like obvious big red lights. And when Lucifer shows up, they have a little tussle. They have a little tussle. But what if Lucifer and he had a knowing conversation that, for people who are, intelligent, right? And they watch a show and they think about what they see on the show, where he and Lucifer were talking at each other and implying that he stole Lucifer's woman. That not only is he one of the High Lords of Hell, he stole the King of Hell's wife. Couldn't that have been interesting? Couldn't that have made us have emotions about the conflict?
So I understand where you're going, Larry. I understand that you're trying to imply that everything in the show is incredibly mid and half baked, and you're not wrong.
Oh no. Half baked is being too charitable.
Yeah, but I want to make a strong point here because this is something that people have jumped in my ass about before. See, I commented to you in the DMs, in the private, and said, "Hey
Mm.
guys, we're gonna look at this. We're gonna talk about this. Look at this bullshit." That I didn't particularly want to talk about it, or at least I felt that it was not a conversation being had in open and good conduct by
Mm.
other people because the religious right drank the Kool-Aid.
Well,
They looked at it.
that episode's even worse than they made it out to be.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm just defining motivations here.
Yeah.
They looked at it, they saw it, and they went, "D- but Satan bad, angel good. Why no in this is Satanism and wrong, and you should not watch it." Which of course is the intended drive to make people watch it because we want to defy what the ultra conservative douche nozzles say, rather than just ignoring it for the tripe that it is.
Well,
But
I mean,
there's a but
it is Satanism, as in the religion made by a degenerate carny,
yeah, but
and you shouldn't watch it because his ideas are bad.
yeah, but see, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. See, I'm a Norse heathen, and I'm a
Hmm.
big scary pagan, and
Hmm.
I have been told, come on, Joe, God of War is cool. You can't be mad at it for being wildly inaccurate. I mean, come on, he's a Spartan. It's like, no, he's not a Spartan. He's a fucking cartoon character from a fictionalized cartoon idea of what ancient Sparta was, who kills the Greek gods and then goes off and proceeds to butt fuck the Norse gods because reasons. And people are like, come on, Joe, people are allowed to like what they like. Well, if you looked at fucking Hazbin Hotel and expected religious accuracy or that it wasn't going to be fucking silly, you have already failed, whether you
Now,
like it or not.
now it's not silly. Silly would imply that it was better
No, it
conceived
can
than
be. No,
this.
no, you're talking about its quality. Is it actually funny? And I would say no.
No, it's
What
written
I'm
to be
saying,
quirky, not silly.
right? What I'm saying is that the very concepts behind it are so laughably bad. It's silly. But then again, I didn't expect the world building to be qualitative, and I didn't expect the characterization of hell to be accurate. When people are like, but they're demons and angels, it's like, no, this is all just take it's all
Well,
surface. Take it on surface. This is
so
how these
so
things work.
so hold up. We need to unwind a little bit here because Pop has said that her intention with this show is to reclaim hell and demons for gay people.
That is a lie.
Right. No,
That is
she
a
said that.
corporate lie.
No, she has said that,
I don't
and
care if
it's
she
all
said
part of
it.
the queering
Her
of the
lawyers,
monster.
no, her lawyers got into her corpo lawyers that Amazon gave her and said, these are here to protect you, and said, say this. And she said, okay. And it was probably contingent on the deal because she
So
was never going to get to make a show in which the forces of hell were actually portrayed as good guys unless you could also portray them as some kind of outsider cast and say that it was a metaphor because
no,
nobody in a mainstream media outlet would allow that ever.
no. I mean that this is actually a common thing they do with the monsters as gay people, found family.
Holy
You're
shit! I just
finding,
It's
looked up
said,
Gay
it's
People
not
Documented
suspected.
true.
Posts.
It's never been true, but it's always said.
I mean, it is true, and it's been a long-standing artistic trend since the
No,
'60s.
no. It has been pushed. It is a pushed narrative. There may be people who believe it, but that does not make it a truism. That
Well,
means it is something that is pushed to make other things palatable.
I mean, the people who push that are the people who make pop culture media
Okay, so explain
because
to
they
me then.
believe that.
Explain to me how then Fritz the cat is family friendly. I'd love to hear it.
Well, Fritz the cat isn't the monster.
Well, no, but it has Satan, and Satan is a queer, if you recall.
Hold up. Hey, Miss Rena.
Satan, the comically monstrous weirdo in the sewer that tries to offer Fritz cat
Mm,
sex.
Hold,
If
well,
you recall,
hold up, Miss
hello, Miss
Rena.
Rena.
It's not edgy. That's the problem. If it were edgy, we would be having a better time talking about it.
I mean,
But
it
no,
was edgy at one
it
time.
was edgy. and then the corporations got involved, and it's
He
just
sanded it down.
and it's just sludge. It's just sludge. But you see, the queering of the monster is only when it's the focus is the monster, and Fritz the cat, the monster was never the focus. In this show, the monster is the focus.
Right, but I'm saying that is said all the time
Mhm.
for many things. We can go watch a show called Penny Dreadful, and you will
Yes.
find articles trying to
Yes.
explain how
You guys
Frankenstein's
can.
monster
I'm
in
not
that
doing that.
show is the gay, right?
Yes.
It is an artificial attribution made external to the product, because if the product was actually about the monsters being gay, it would actually be this little book, maybe you've heard of it, called Interview with a Vampire.
Mhm.
Except
Mhm.
we can't have Interview with a Vampire be Interview with a Vampire anymore because it wasn't gay enough. We had to make it more gay with better characters, because that's the only way to be gay now. And that was
And
a
also
corporate decision, not a
and also
decision by the
people
original creator.
and also people I'm getting all the angry out of Rune right now before he talks about the D&D research article.
Am I
Oh,
still
that
coming
actually
through?
doesn't make me angry.
Yeah, you are.
We did hear you, but I didn't hear what you specifically said.
Wait, you can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. I just didn't hear what you specifically said previously. What are you saying?
Oh,
What
I
do you
said I
want?
wasn't going to watch Penny Dreadful with you guys because
No,
that's
please don't.
homosexual.
No,
No, I don't
it-
watch Penny
it's lame.
Dreadful. It's
And
the
and
lamest
Miss
thing
Rena
that a good actor has ever done.
and Miss Rena, they actually removed when they moved it to Amazon most of the biblical inspiration for the show.
That's the thing. I also believe people are overreacting to it. I think it's going to disappear very quickly.
I'm disappointed that all the goodwill of somebody being an insurgent, getting into the big table is a problem.
No, Miss Rena, I objectively disagree
Has been
with you.
Hotel.
Lucifer is not good.
Supernatural was pretty great though.
I mean,
until oddly enough, the seasons in which they decided to start including God and angels.
my problem with Supernatural is that show went on for too long.
It really did. But no, Diet Doctor Who is always bad, no matter who does it.
But let me get back to
Doctor Who's not very good, frankly.
let me get back to the whole issue with the show is they in addition to what Vizzy said about it being reclaiming hell and demons for gay people, she also explicitly said that hell's California in the show
Okay.
in a song done by Charlie Morningstar.
Okay. And
That so I'm just putting in context that is literally how they've written the show.
and remember, there was another artist of some quality, at least 30 years ago. He was quality because he was edgy and weird, named Jonan Vasquez, who said that heaven is being stuck in a waiting room where everyone has psychic powers and blows each other's brains up, and then when you go to hell, it's L.A. where he lives. And then, of course, another guy you might have heard of by name of Frank Miller did a little book called Sin City, which, even though Sin City is actually Las Vegas, is all about his experiences in L.A.
Yeah. Miss Rena, the reason is that the demons aren't bad people. We're told they're bad people in hell, but we're not shown bad people in hell.
Also, Sandman is its own complicated ball of wax.
I liked Sandman until I watched the Sandman show, and then I realized, this writing and comic art this comic art distracted me from the qualitative issues with the storytelling.
Well, I mean, ironically enough, I preferred Lucifer the book to Sandman the book, and what I found was that Lucifer the book spends a lot of time talking about how Christian theology doesn't work, and then actively ignoring it. It's like this can be done better because this has been done better.
It has been done better. So there is we're going to invert the angels and make the angels evil, but we're also going to say that the demons are kind of evil, but they're not bad evil because they're gay. But also the angels are kind of gay, which is something they set up in the most recent episode. So the most recent episode of Hazbin Hotel did two things that are noteworthy. Why is it some people get upset about it specifically? People are getting upset about it specifically because it's popular, and some people are upset about it because it used to be better, and the quality is declined in the storytelling because she's getting corporate money and getting corporate oversight.
It-
Uh, and Hell of a Boss is even becoming flanderized, which is depressing to me because it was
I mean,
fun.
Hell of a Boss still has a chance to pull out of the tailspin, frankly, but
It does.
it is it's a rough going.
Oh no, she said that in multiple interviews, Miss Reina. But let me circle back to the most recent episode, which is the problem here. So
We will find you a source.
yeah, we'll get that for you here in a minute. But we need to circle to the final episode, which has the problem that heaven and hell are random. Who goes where is random. So the entire ethos of what our main character wants to do is random. So there's no reason for anybody to be redeemed. So why should I care? And Heaven's corruptly hiding things from its people. Lucifer, it's clearly implied, was aware that this whole corrupt thing was going on, even though the world building setup is like, oh, Lucifer doesn't know what's going on, except when he does. So it's bad because of that. It's bad expressly because there's no reason for us to care about the main character's motivations. The additional problem is they have retconned Veggie. They've retconned her origin. She's actually a fallen angel. And so she falls in love with Charlie because Charlie takes her in and takes care of her and wants to support Charlie's dream, which just happens to be in the line of fire of her boss. So their love, the thing that makes them wholesome and was supposed to make us care about their characters, has now been hollowed out and taken out. So we have no real reason to care about what they're fighting for and why they're fighting. Now, we do have one character who actually goes through something of a character arc where he says, instead of being a crack whore, I'm only going to be a crack whore at work. I'm going to try to be a better person when I'm not working. Yeah, the gay shipping is the thing that they're focusing on because they view it as a cheap way to market the product. And that's why, they're focusing on that for both shows. They're using gay shipping culture to sell the product instead of, having advertising, quality storytelling. And that's why I don't care for it. And the equivalent to Charlotte is mad at her mom, and now we're going to be set up where the forces of heaven are actually legitimately going to go to the war with the forces of hell because heaven wants to keep all the wrong people from getting in from hell. And almost all the characters you see in hell are explicitly gay. So it's just awful. It's just awful. Whereas we could have a Disney princess in hell trying to mother a bunch of sinners and having some comedy hijinks with some dark humor. That would have been a good show. We would have been having a good time if that was the case. Somebody broke in from Tumblr, got on Amazon. Would have been a feel good story. I wanted that story to be real and to happen. That's what I wanted. Why did Amazon have to ruin that? Ruin what should have been a feel-good story?
Because it's Amazon, and that's what they do.
Everyone should know by now. Amazon ruins things. Didn't you see Rings of Power? Oh, right, no one did.
Oh, but
And they're
they
making
do.
more of it.
But fun for Joe, they do have Amazon as one of the High Lords of Hell as a villain in the show.
I mean, yes, and Amazon even allowed them to do it because Amazon loves talking about how great Amazon is. Ha
Yeah, but you're again talking about a franchise that's well written and well constructed, Miss Rena, and this isn't. This is just bad. And it makes me sad. So, Joe, you got something big and dense and deep that's D&D related.
Sure.
That's kind of
we
sexy
will
to talk
we will
about.
still find you your sources, Miss Rena. I was quieting it down because I was looking for them. But yeah, no, I have mentioned before our good friend Grim Jim. We love some Grim Jim. Grim Jim put out a video which is now currently under fire.
About an
Yeah.
article written about a study.
Yes, and not the study you'd think from the name, which is the really enjoyment, the really warm part. It is called. I'll let somebody else put it up on screen so that they can manage. The worst people you have never met, or what I learned during a 4-year academic study of online harassment in the Dungeons and Dragons community, by Dr. Cleo Bell Weissman. The thing is that you'd assume from that name that it's about online communities as communities and about the absolute abject monstrous vileness pit of evil and darkness that is uh D&D, and how awful gamers are. Brr, bugaboos. It is not. uh it is in fact about how vile, awful, and disgusting game design is, and specifically the between current and, let's say, roughly 2014 development of the interaction between the old guard of role-playing games where your shittiness happened behind scenes interpersonally and you made good products, and modernity where your shittiness happens online in public and you make half-assed products.
And also how some of the people who are making the product now were harassers before they started making product.
Right. It is in fact that at least in part, some of the scummy people responsible for the scummy behavior that has made their environment scummy not only regret making things scummy, but in interview where they are very open because they apparently can't put together that they should not talk to someone about what they've done, uh, come off with a patina of paranoid anxiety, where it's like I can't not be shitty. If I was not shitty, then somebody might be shitty to me, and then I'd have people being shitty to me, and then everything would go wrong. Ah! Because these are mentally ill people that should never, ever have been given positions of authority in a business. For the love of God. I also have learned more about the Mandy Morbid pornography thing than I ever thought I would, because I had heard about it, but I didn't know how deep that rabbit hole fucking
Wait,
went.
what? What are we talking about? I'm back.
Somehow,
Church is back in.
somehow I
Church is back
knew.
in.
Somehow I knew the second I said the words pornography, church would be here.
We go. Continue.
Um,
I'm focused.
focus. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of article to unpack. There's a lot of stuff, but the high point of the article, the high watermark for shittiness, is there's a guy named Zach Smith who was apparently a designated good guy in the gaming sphere because he was no politics, no bullshit. right? Not even insofar as there shouldn't be politics in gaming, but just he had no strong politics. He was about what is good for the gaming environment and what's good for products, right? And because he lived a weirdo alt lifestyle with his then girlfriend Mandy Morbid, and they made porn together, that became the proverbial and literal chink in his armor that enabled people who wanted to take him down a peg for basically being white, male, having opinions, and being non political to do so because they were able to convince his then girlfriend, Mandy Morbid, to sell his ass out with lies for whatever theoretical career she was going to get that never manifested, possibly because she was mad at him, possibly because she might be a little fucking crazy. Don't put your dick in crazy, kids. Because people spun stories to tear this guy down for the sake of telling stories, and the people they told those stories to believed them unequivocally and without question. Because why would anyone ever lie about any of these things? Which they did repeatedly. And the guy has been in a succession of no less than 4, possibly more lawsuits, of which he has either won or were deemed no case by judges who do not have the time to rifle through. They said I was a pedophile with no proof and didn't call the cops on me because there's no proof I'm a pedophile and they didn't call the cops on me. Because judges honestly think people should resolve that shit themselves. Because libel and slander suits are incredibly difficult to prove without paperwork.
It was much less interesting than I thought it would be.
I mean, it is. It is both pedestrian as shit because the entire thing is people's gossip circles all the way down, and it is also incredibly timely to our broad-based commentary because this is the thing. This is the thing that created the current outburst of indie comics growth, and this is indeed what's destroying it. Is
Lots of
Well,
people
people
actually, it's
having,
eating
having
itself. So
no, that's
well, no,
exactly it. It's eating
this is
itself
the exact same
because of gossip.
because of gossip, because of people playing mean girl tricks, because of people spreading, whisper network BS. Just with the role playing games, this has been a thing that's been tracked over like a 10-year period by an actual academic.
Right. And the reason said academic is sharing it, and they brought the receipts. They brought the receipts as live recording. Is
Yep.
Because apparently, unfortunate, we're not making fun of it. Godspeed wherever you are, Miss Wiseman. They got the cancer. And when you're staring down the barrel of I might not be here around much longer, they said, fuck it. Because they had actually been concerned about sharing this material because they were concerned about retaliation. They were concerned that they would take it in the neck because this is not a rightist making these arguments. This is in fact a dyed-in-the-wool lefty talking shop about other lefties. She doesn't pull punches. She actually adheres to her academic rigor in saying these people are shitty. These people
Mhm.
are really shitty. These people are shitty enough in ways that I, as a feminist, do not feel comfortable in having these people claim to be feminists because my god, these people are shitty. And yet, as I mentioned to Larry, it's still funny because she talks about the gamers like we're a cohesive sphere of hate mob.
Because there's a lot of academic paper that says
wait, we're
we
not
are.
a cohesive spear of hate mob.
We're not.
Yes,
No.
they think that we're all in it together, all the gamers and all the comics guys who are anti shit comics, we're all Gamergate, and Gamergate is a thing that they want to tell you is a thing.
And they and also
Or rather we use Gamergate tactics.
and also one of the people in the interview says, "Well, I mean, I would love to call this out, but if I call it out, then people might think I'm actually, supporting right wingers and Nazis, and I'm not a Nazi, so I
Right.
can't call out this behavior." I seem to remember somebody saying, First, they came for the trade unionists. I didn't say anything because I wasn't a trade unionist. Do you remember that, Rube?
I do.
And then they came for the communists, and didn't say anything because I wasn't a communist.
Yeah, it's weirdest thing. Weirdest thing. Um, the other component to this though is uh even though she says those things, that doesn't invalidate her points. Her points are strong, they are well told, and they are a unflinching gaze into how shitty behind the scenes D&D is, which is of course idiomatic of all the tabletop gaming sphere. It's pretty nasty to the OSR for obvious reasons, because there are elements of the OSR that are awful. It talks good shop about Olivia Hill, who used to be David Hill, the Japanese, the American expat turned Japanese citizen that I'm pretty sure Japan wishes would go back, right? Uh, and as she talks to various people, Larry mentioned one and their commentary about how they can't speak out because they're afraid of getting the ban hammer. But as she talks to more dyed in the wool believers, these people are insane. And I don't mean insane. I mean like they are incapable of forming a cohesive sentence.
They are deranged.
They are absolutely deranged. I have long been reasonably neutral insofar as I'm like, no, like they can't be that crazy.
In fact, you have come at me saying like, no, these people don't all have like a monoculture. They're not all
I
thinking.
have absolutely come at you and been like, bro, you can't just say they're all nuts, because some of them have to be well-meaning people that are just confused or wrong. And it's like, no, there are some. I will say it. There
Oh,
are some that are like, holy shit, you are clearly not right.
yeah,
Because there's at least one person who worked on a game called Mothership. Go look it up. Go read this article. Who cannot say why they did what they did, because they also cannot say anything. The sum of their conversation points seem to be like, well, I did, but I didn't because I don't, but I do because things happen. It sounds like a Stefan Fry routine. It's
hmm?
fucking hilarious and horrifying at the same time that this person was deemed to have power in the gaming sphere. Some of which is because of, I will in fact say, some of it is because of gamers. Because gamers tend to think that if you successfully made a game, this makes you a magical creator man's. And therefore, sunlight falls out of your ass. But I
Wait, it
think
doesn't?
it doesn't, in fact. And that's the
Jesus
thing.
Christ.
I think some of us are cynical enough to know that for every Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, there's a Todd McFarlane and there's an Eric July, and yeah, they created a thing. They might not have created the best thing.
Are you about to talk shit on Todd McFarlane? Because I will come through the screen.
I did, in fact, just talk shit about Todd McFarlane, but we can also talk shit about Eric Larson if that makes you feel better in your danger zone.
I mean, Todd did end up in a whole bunch of shenanigans in the whole Miracle Man lawsuit thing that we mentioned earlier.
Todd
And
Todd is a saint. You will not besmirch his name in my presence.
Saint Todd
Well,
is an asshole.
Saint Todd plays business, full contact, and
He does.
that's worked for him a lot. But there have been times it hasn't worked for him, and that's
Oh,
why
he's broke as
Angela's now a
shit.
Marvel. That's why Angela's now a Marvel Comics character. And he's actually not broke.
I mean, compared to what he was, he's broke as shit.
I mean, he's still a multiple billionaire.
Sure.
But he had to downgrade from the gold-plated pool to the silver-plated pool because he just couldn't afford the upkeep of the gold-plated pool anymore.
Right, yeah.
If anything, what this article has described to me is a combination both of a semi-irregular conversation point, which is that I will never be successful because I'm not an asshole. Because I'm a halfway decent human being, arguably, or at least some people like to hang out with me. I don't know. But also that something I have said I don't have and I don't understand, is real. There are people with imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
See, I have a very good, very strong understanding of reality and fantasy and the differentials between those two things. And I have never had a problem with the person who I believe myself to be not being the person that I am, and the person that I want to be not being a person I could attain, right? But these are people who wanted to be something, and they either attained it or they didn't, right? But having gotten to where they are, seem incapable of rationalizing the two dissonant ideas of who they were and what they are. They seem completely at odds with it because some of them thought that they were going to be the next Gary Gygax or the next Dave Arneson, and even if they made it, they're now deeply confused about what they're supposed to do in that environment. What are they going to do with themselves now that they're big wheels in RPGs, which is not as big a pool or as famous as they thought it was? Well, we've got to tear down other people because that's the only way to get bigger, right?
Or,
Right?
or, or here's the thing: what if you cultivate your fans and you supply them with a product they like, and
Well, I
you
mean,
do that repeatedly, and you get paid for it?
well, it's actually funny because again, comics. I saw somebody get on their soapbox to assert that they heard lots of people talking about a rising tide raises all ships. I am one of those guys, and saying it's not true, objectively not true. This is a business. We're all in active competition, and in order for some to win, others must lose because this is comics, and not
I mean,
everyone's going to buy everything.
I mean
Right?
that's not really how capitalism works.
That's not only not how capitalism works, but then you see that belief system in action described in this article, right? Because tabletop role playing games were always a niche, it was always a small niche, and people came into that niche and were like, there's not enough room for me and my product alongside all these other products, even though there was, because they had already sold it. They had already made lots of money doing it, right? So they were like, how can I get more attention at the convention? How can I get more attention on my book? I got to do something about all these other people. Well, I can't take out Watsy, and I can't take out White Wolf. I can't I can't fight those guys. I gotta I gotta stop this influx of other indies. I gotta get rid of these people with opinions that threaten my concepts. But I can't attack them directly. I need some dirt. I know. Let's attack their personal identity, sexual identity, political identity, any identity that works, and let's promote the identity that's acceptable, which is, of course, an intersectional LGBTQ plus XYZ one, because that will make me safe. And then the question is, but does safe make money? And the answer is no. Safe does not make money. Because nobody wants the associated bullshit that comes with what you think is safety. To say nothing of the fact that then once you've implemented that system, no one is safe. Because everyone is now paranoid about being the next target. Everyone is now paranoid about the idea that they're going to have whatever gains they make taken away. Which means that it's more about controlling other people than it is about making a product and
Hmm?
making money and having fun. The things that you supposedly got in this business to be about because you didn't want a 9 to 5 corpo job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, church, I got something that again is going to be, it's going to get you back in the swing of things.
There we go. Oh, we're talking about McMahon and WWF or something else?
I mean, do you want to talk about Vince McMahon and his sexual allegations?
I mean, I do not, but Church might have some comments
Oh
on that.
yeah,
That might pull
yes,
him right
yes,
in.
yes.
Yeah,
Vince
see?
McMahon shit on a woman's head.
Allegedly. Now we're gonna open this discussion by saying the following things. This woman had enough information that Vince McMahon and the WWE paid her money and then they stopped payments. We are not attributing, that this is false or that this is true. This is something that she did get a payout for. She's mad that Vince isn't paying her. Let's talk about her allegations.
Gospel legal requires us to state that everything we are about to say is for entertainment purposes only, just like in Norm
This is
Macdonald's
this is
greatest hits.
this is very entertaining. So this woman in question alleges that her parents died and she needed a job, and so the manager of her apartment building took her to meet Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the big swinging dick himself, who just happened to be living in the penthouse of that building. And how do you think Vincent McMahon interviewed this new employee, potentially, who just showed up and said, "Hey, I need a job, sir"? Do you think he interviewed her in his home in a suit and tie, in a professional outfit, possibly a polo shirt, maybe even
this is boxers.
his boxers? And he then asked her to hug him repeatedly during the interview. Now, I'm not blaming the victim here. I am saying that this is a start that's going to lead you only one way in a relationship. So this
Are you
makes
saying that
everything
Vince
else.
McMahon is that guy from high school who was always like, "Where my hug at?"
No, what I'm saying is that this seems implausible. That she just happened to live in the building where Vince was, and she just happened to have a sad sob story, and then Vince just happened to be with this person he's never met before in his boxers wanting to get something. That, to me, all of that seems highly improbable. Unless, Vince's, building manager was getting him a hoe train on a regular basis. And,
Which I
she
mean
doesn't
might
want
be
to.
part of his lease agreement.
I mean, it is L.A., isn't it?
No, this was in Connecticut. And so she got a job working for WWE in a position where, as part of her job duties, is she had to have sex with Vince and several of his subordinates.
I am actually interested in this story, but I have to ask Larry, because maybe you know better than I do. Maybe Church knows. What is the quality and the regularity of the hoe train out of Connecticut? Like how strong is the Midwest hoe train? Have I
We
been
would have
lied
to.
to?
This is
We would
the
have to
Eastern
get Papa.
hoe train.
We would have to get Papa Shango, aka the
The Godfather.
the Godfather, on the show to give us that information.
But
I'm just saying, because my brain, talking about these alleged allegations, my brain is having trouble already envisioning that there are enough, let us say, 19 to 20-year-old, thin, blonde, muscular women
who
for
want to have sex with a billionaire?
Right, which admittedly a billionaire is a strong inducement, but to feed Vince McMahon's
HGH and testosterone fueled sex drive.
yeah, I mean, if this was true, the man must have like a 6-woman a day habit.
Now there are multiple women he has paid off in this manner. So
certainly, but I'm just saying
so
that seems a little wacky.
so as part of her job, Vince passed her around to several of the other executives of the company, including one John Laurinaitis. Which is interesting that John Laurinaitis was mentioned and sued by name because he was one of the least popular executives who worked under Vince. Vince would have. This is the Vince McMahon lawsuit, where a woman who claimed that Vince McMahon bought her for sexual uses is wanting money, and we're discussing this as part of her sexual relationship with Vince.
There's also the statement that, hey, this was an NDA that she's trying to get overturned because apparently Vince McMahon cheaped out and didn't pay her the full $3 million.
Correct. He only paid her $1 million.
So I don't know.
But let me continue with the story. That Vince used sex toys on her that he named after professional wrestlers, to the point that she was injured. and was bleeding, and she went to get medical care at a clinic that she doesn't remember where it was, and she doesn't have any of her receipts from the clinic. One of the text messages Vince sent to her is she needed to have sex with 3 black guys right away.
Pretty
Vince
standard
was
text to get from your boss, I think.
Yeah. Vince at one time allegedly repaid her, and I don't mean repay, I mean repay. And after that happened, Vince's personal assistant gave her $15,000 in gift cards to Saks Fifth Avenue, which is a weird thing to have on tap. It's weird. It's weird to just have that. Vince allegedly, in a board meeting, told several executives at the company that she looks like she'd say no, but she can't say no if she has your D in her mouth. But the piece de la resistance in the allegations is that Vince McMahon told her to make personalized sexual content for a former UFC heavyweight champion who Vince was trying to get to re-sign his contract.
Can we
That's
just
one
can we just
person.
say Brock Lesnar?
Well, no, because she didn't sue Brock Lesnar, which is very weird. Which is very weird. And once Brock signed his contract, Vince explained to her that having sex with Brock Lesnar was part of her job. It was part of his contract.
Well, I'm not implying anything in the implications of implications, but I will point out that I saw a photo of Brock Lesnar, who is currently a bear of a man.
He's always been a bear of a man.
Perhaps,
Yes.
just perhaps, he was not named in a lawsuit because she didn't mind that part of the arrangement.
Well, here's
did
the
find
thing,
some of
though.
it.
Because of the implication, he did not attend
Oh.
the Royal Rumble where he was scheduled to attend.
Mhm.
And,
He did not want to be a distraction. Also, when Vince left the company, when these allegations first surfaced, Brock quit the WWE.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then he came back when Vince came back.
Oh, these aren't the same allegations that those were.
No, these are.
Are they? I thought it was a different set.
Nope. She was the original person whose initial lawsuit with Vince became exposed because of those subsidiary allegations. So the Brock Lesnar.
He looked very guilty to begin with.
Yes. He made himself turn into Gomez Adams. That is a weird flex. That's a weird flex.
Did he dance the mamushka?
I wouldn't be surprised if he did. She
I wouldn't be surprised
alleges
if he still is.
she alleges that for her personalized sexual content for Brock Lesnar asked her to film a video of her peeing, and then he called her a filthy B word, and then they scheduled time for her to come and visit Brock, but he wasn't able to visit her because of a snowstorm.
Yeah, he had to rain check the hoe.
Is that a literal snowstorm, or is that a euphemism for the amount of cocaine he was doing that
No,
day?
that was a literal snowstorm.
No, that's what they call it when Brock Lesnar does that much cocaine.
Also, Vince at one point sent her to psychotherapy, but again, she doesn't have the receipts, doesn't know where the place he sent her was. So there are a lot of details in this story that don't make sense. Now, Vince's counter argument is this was a
I didn't do it.
No, because she's had some salacious text messages from Vince that he argues were all consenting adult sexual back and forth. So that's a thing. And it has also been alleged that they called an audible in the Royal Rumble so that instead of talking about that, they talk about, man, Cody Rhodes is going to go to WrestleMania to complete his story. They decided to make it a positive message. So that was that's the Vince McMahon stuff, and again,
Yeah, they're also trying to implicate Triple H in it, saying that he knew all of this was going on.
they've also alleged that Shane McMahon knew this was going on. That was why he became distant from his father, and later did not become involved in the management day-to-day affairs of the company.
And there's
Can
no
I make
reason
a-
that Stephanie McMahon left until Vince McMahon stepped down.
Can I make a controversial postulate? Just because. Oh, okay. I'll shut up. No. Mrs. Church says no. Okay. Can't argue
No,
with
she's
Mrs.
talking.
Church.
She's talking to her children.
Are you saying I'm not a children?
Yes, Joe, you're a grown ass man.
Okay. No, I just want to throw this out there. The accusation that someone knew what was going on and is therefore culpable is really bullshit. Now, I'm not saying that if you know something, you shouldn't endeavor to do the right thing. But it is worth mentioning that sometimes life happens in such a way you are not equipped to do something about it. You can know it, but there's the difference between knowing it and being able to prove it. We all saw Training Day. What you know and what you prove are two different fucking things.
Mm-hmm.
It is entirely possible that you got Triple H with whatever problems he's got in real life, because he's a performer under contract, knowing theoretically that someone, maybe Vince, maybe someone else, is doing some sleazy, and he's like, man, a lot of people do sleazy things around here, and I'd like to do something, but there's no protections for whistleblowers, and fuck, I could lose my house, and all, I got some medical bills and shit. I really can't do anything.
You know he's married to the boss's daughter. Like
I do, but I'm just saying that within context, it is entirely possible he couldn't actually do anything if he even knew anything.
Or also, he may have only known that, listen, Vince is screwing around on my mother-in-law, and I mean, we're in a don't poop where you work sort of situation, and I don't want to intertwine the work and the personal like that, because that's a problem.
Right.
And then he found out.
But then you get to the ultimate thing. Okay, and I think this is very pertinent. And while we may snark in the direction of the legal proceedings, they are at least legal proceedings. What matters is the accusation and the follow through, which means if Triple H gets called before a jury, before a judge, to say what he know, well, that you swore under God before everyone you would tell the truth. So you better tell the fucking truth. I'm sorry, what?
But no one's ever lied under oath.
Oh, I'm sure they have. But
I did find out recently in Florida about an interesting way to get out of those problems in a civil trial that I had never considered. That you have your attorney present documents to the court that says, Your Honor, my client is incapable of telling the truth and will lie unintentionally. And as such, he cannot testify because if he were to testify, you'd be suborning perjury. And none of the information he would provide would be of merit to the case.
I mean, that's pretty good. All that I'm saying is that if they don't actually bring him up on an accusation and they don't actually have proof that he could have rendered aid in a meaningful way for a actual big boy crime. And I don't mean a big boy crime in the sense that you walk into an office and a guy says, suck my dick or I won't hire you is not a crime, because it is. I'm saying a big boy crime where a performer said, Triple H, you know people, get me out of here, because if I walk in that room, they're gonna RAUPH me. Right? And he didn't. If nobody can actually point that finger, then he knew also is not an accusation. That is not a meaningful component to a legal process. That is that is guilt by association and an accusation without merit. I can stand next to a racist and not be a racist.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, that's the. I see we have our special guest here. You picked an excellent time, sir, to show up.
I did?
Yes, we were just finishing talking about the Vince McMahon sex scandal.
Oh, I completely missed that. I was so
He shit on the
interested
chick's
too.
head.
There was some video on it. I was like, oh, I had it on my phone. It was like paused, right? And I turned my phone off in my pocket because I was going to watch it later, and then completely.
Are you saying Are you saying that John Dillard TiVo's wrestling hysteria?
Yes.
Like, for example,
No, somebody told me before that you could actually like save a video on YouTube. I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Yeah, like the fact that this woman alleges that Vince has sex toys named after former professional wrestlers, and it made me ask questions.
The beefcake?
No, I was going to go an entirely different way. Is there a gobbledygooker? Is there a Bastion Booger?
Oh no.
Look,
is there a Kamala the Ugandan giant?
Well, look, we all do not talk about.
Well, I bet you, dollars to donuts. There's a doink and a ding.
So Dillard, we were trying to get you on as a special guest to talk about e-drama related to John Dillard. So I'd like to provide.
So why are you farming drama, John? I thought that wasn't your brand.
It's not
farming drama.
No.
I love drama so much.
No. It's worse than that. Here's John Dillard making books and minding his own business, and other people's drama is like, and John Dillard too, and it's like, wait, what? Excuse me.
Yeah, I know you're not actually farming the drama, John. I'm just fucking with you.
Because I personally have been interested.
Got away with it.
Not for the specific content of what's gone on, because e-drama is bullshit. But I prefer first-person narratives where possible. John, what? How? Who? The fuck?
Well, I don't want to sound stupid, right? I don't.
You're not me. You're not me.
I don't want to be like. That's what I reacted when I first heard, right? But
yeah.
Retarded. I was like, oh no, because like I'm aware of the drama that happens between people, and of course I'm aware of the. I wasn't born yesterday. I didn't fall off a turnip truck, but I was like, oh, this is not a good time for this to blow up.
Right.
But yeah, I was a little bit blindsided. I was like, damn it, this is not good. And kind of just sitting there, like, you sit around trying to figure out what your next step is going to be, even though you're not really involved, right? But the steps that you make are important because you're being talked about. The things you say,
which means you're being watched. Everything you're doing is on full display at that point.
Right. So now you got to be careful. Like, what do I say? What do I do? Because I don't know. Do you want me to like recap it, or are we?
I want to open with something you. I want to open with something you said, John. Like, could you imagine how much money you would have made on the buckler if all these people who are concerned about you in the C drama bought the buckler?
Right. And they had to wait until like the buckler was closed and not available anymore. But so when this stuff happened, what?
Well, if it does blow up, John, and the buckler gets super expensive, I happen to know a guy that has a couple of pieces of original art from the buckler.
So do I.
If those flip for a reasonable profit.
Hopefully they do, right?
Hey, I
will probably not sell them, but still I own them.
In some unknown future date, Church, I like to imagine we're going to go to a convention and have our live show. And if this guy named John Dillard's there, I'm going to get my copy of the buckler signed, by John Dillard.
So hopefully I'm walking through like a carpet, right? Like perhaps a red one. And there's like cameras flashing, and then I see, Room Night, and I pretend I don't know him, and he says Dillard, and I look over and I squint my eyes, flipping the bird, and I keep on walking.
That is indeed my future, and I'll be super excited. I'll be like, John Dillard flipped me the bird. I got flipped the bird
No, it's
I do
funny.
believe mine came autographed, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Wait,
believe
you're-
mine might as well, but
Yeah, they all did. Yeah.
Not sure why you'd need to get it signed twice.
You see, I don't actually have like I don't have like false, like airs about me. Like I don't think that my signature is like super valuable. So
Oh no, but what's
I don't
going to happen
charge
is
for it.
no, we're gonna get it signed by you older. That way we can be like, this is the young John Dillard signature when he wasn't shit. This is old
Nice.
John Dillard
Oh,
signature where
you
he's
mean
kind of a little bit of shit.
Like in a few years when I'm wearing those like Robert De Niro casino glasses,
So-
just so I can see what I'm doing.
so? What you're saying, Church, is you and I are going to be on Behind the Comics when we're 60 and be like, I remember John Dillard before he was shit, but man, then it was Hollywood and the drugs.
Now you're gonna be like that burnt out roadie that's like, I listened to this song and I was like, that's a #1 hit right there.
Right.
All right, so go ahead.
Okay,
and
so
get
anyway,
into,
this is what happened.
yeah.
So like, I saw because I talk to Yellow Flash like on a weekly basis, right? Because we're just working on the book together. We're not really like best of friends. So I just meet him on Fridays for meetings to go over the book. Sometimes what's his name shows up, our editor, Literature Devil.
Okay.
And so I forget what day it happened. I think it was like a Friday evening or whatever. And then I saw all the drama start to boil up with Ethan and Flash, and I was like, oh no, that's not good. But it didn't really. I got bent out of shape over the wrong thing, right? Because what ended up happening was they were fighting on Twitter, and then Yellow Flash dropped that information that he's like, oh, and don't forget, Ethan, like you're the one that told me to fucking fire Dillard and go find an ex-pro, right? And I don't know why you're pretending to be so concerned about him now. And then that's when I read that tweet that he put down. I was like, oh, I cringed, right? I was like, I did not know he was going to drop that piece of information and make that public, because now that puts weight on me, right? Now I have to get involved. Because if I, number one, pretend I didn't know that he said that, I would look like a sucker, right? Like, oh, he got suckered in. But then if it comes out that, did you know that? Oh, I did know that, but I did nothing.
You
Then
look
that
like a
would make
bitch.
it make me look like a bitch, right?
Yeah.
Because
Well, that's-
because this is the way, and this is in reality, this is the way I see it, right? And this is in no way meant to endorse one party or the other. I understand where Ethan's coming from, right? Because when I talked to Yellow Flash originally about this project, I said, look, this is not my wheelhouse, right? I can draw my ass off, I can draw well, but Super Senkai or whatever it is, that Power Ranger stuff is not something I'm familiar with doing. And he wanted to make sure that it had that,
right, the helmets and the uniforms and stuff like that.
Right,
like,
right.
That's
And I was
not what
like,
you do.
It's not what I do, right? So when Ethan says, Dillard draws some stuff well, but he's not there yet, and he's not the right person for this project, I understand, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna try to like blow my shit up just because somebody said something like, go with a former pro. And again, that's another thing that I've known about Ethan since
and that's
the beginning.
That's
right?
that's a piece of context that not a lot of people have, because from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, Dillard, he sucks. Get somebody that's actually good. And from what you just said, it's a completely reasonable statement. Yeah, Dillard draws some things well, but that's not his thing. That's not what he does. You'd probably be better off and move along quicker with someone who had done this before.
Right. And he was like, I know,
I know
ex pros.
On Twitter, but on Twitter, all you get is fucking Dillard sucks. Hire somebody else.
Somebody's dog eating in a bowl right now. What is that?
Sorry, I will mute myself.
The thing is, my dog Larry's eating some cereal.
The thing is,
somebody's smearing peanut butter on themselves right now. What is going on?
the thing is,
after the show.
What bothered me about this scenario was after that information share, or maybe before it. It's hard to discern quite when it got brought up. Some people started going hard about, well, you said, or she said, or they said you're going to help Dillard's house, and your contributions were not up to that. And it's like everybody's talking about your living conditions like you're a hobo living in a tar paper shack in southern LA, and your children are dirty or something. I'm like, I would never infer such a thing. about John Dillard and his children. In fact, from everything I've seen and heard, it sounds like you live in a really nice place because you have a separate building you draw in for crap's sake, right?
Right. Yeah.
I would never talk smack about Church's kids. I think going after an artist's family for your beef on comics is like the lowest form of activity ever. Right?
Right.
Now, thankfully, nobody went after your family. Thank
Thankfully.
God. But
Okay, so
I,
this
I,
is so then
whatever,
after that,
your,
right? Hold on a
but,
second.
yeah, whatever.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, whatever your household problems were, I don't see how they're pertinent. Because that's just you dealing with life, man.
Right. So when I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, I got to do something." But then, I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a beat. I'm gonna take a step back,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna release a statement in response to Yellow Flash's statement. And I formulated a statement and said pretty much. I thought that I did a stellar job. When I finished that tweet, I was like, "That's perfect. That's exactly how I feel. It's exactly what I wanted to say." I was editing it, editing it. Yeah, I want to say this. I want to make sure that nobody misunderstands a word, right? And then I just put out one statement. That was it. Said nothing more on the matter for the next 2-3 days. But lo and behold, nobody gave a rat's ass about what I said, right? What I said didn't matter because it wasn't about me. It was about the beef. They wanted to talk about the beef, So in that statement, I was like, basically, yeah, everything that Yellow Flash says is true. We have an agreement. It is as it is. I understand all the drama that's going on, but I understand also it has nothing to do with me. And, there it is. That's the truth of the matter.
Well,
What actually got my goat, what got me a little salty, right? Because from that point, I was like, it's gonna blow over. Not a big deal. But what got me salty a little bit was when Ethan went on and started painting the picture that my kids were homeless and hungry and selling matches on the corner and with no shoes and fingerless gloves, That pissed me off not because it's true, but because I know the history of online drama with people on YouTube. And I know there's somebody out there that's a vehement believer in one thing or another that will probably end up calling CPS, That's what pissed me off. That's what I was like, that's a dirty move. It's clear that Ethan don't like me, right? To do something like that. Now, there's no way that I would think that he would have the forethought to be like, hey, you know what? Let's just do that. Let me do that and put that out there for that reason. Of course he wouldn't. But because he would just do it and just not give me a second thought and just go ahead and use me like that, that's what pissed me off.
Well, and then there's the added level of agitation now, and I mean they're not related subjects, but they are. I don't know if you guys have heard that they're doing a remake of Roadhouse, and they got the least Patrick Swayze looking motherfucker to do it. It's I forget which actor.
But is that my fault too?
No, it's not your fault. But
it is.
The thing is that Ethan put out, or somebody put out, a fan art for Ethan of Cyberfrog instead as the guy for Roadhouse. Uh-huh. And basically they're just trying to move on from the beef, which is a good idea, but also trying to move on like nobody said any of these things they said. Like nobody tried to start some shit and hurt anybody. And it's like, no, you were there. We know you did. We knew you were there. What the fuck?
Yeah, because if I look at it from that perspective, right? Of course, I understand the tweet that Ethan, sent Yellow Flash or whatever, saying, drop Dillard or whatever. That's fine. I get it. The only issue is that, and the thing is, it's a personal conversation between two people, and you would take that into confidence or whatever. But that's me, So it's like, yeah, I understand that it's personal, but it is me, and I don't like it. I thought it was dirty because I'm CG, and I've been CG for a real long time, and I took it basically as like a stab in the back, and not just that, ditch Dillard and get somebody else, but the whole let me put Dillard on such a low tier where I'm not taking him or anything that's happening to him into any consideration whatsoever. I've been around way too long to not be taken into consideration whatsoever. To put my kids and my family on Front Street like I'm a fucking retard saying I have Stockholm syndrome. And I don't know what I'm doing because I'm so stupid, you know?
John, you ain't never been to Stockholm. You can't have Stockholm syndrome.
But you told a story, and that story about your wife that you told me before you got started. You've told that story before on YouTube, right?
I don't know which one.
About the
story?
vacations. About the vacations in your old job.
I don't
The
know what
one
story.
about the story about how you convinced your wife to let you be an artist full time.
Oh, right, yeah.
You've told that story before.
Mm-hmm.
So John, before he became a comic book artist full time and was living his dream, he took a week off from his regular job because he had a paid week off, and he did paid writing gigs. He did this a couple of times to prove to his wife that he could earn for his family enough as a comic book artist. And then she said, "Yeah, John, you can go follow your dream and be a comic book artist full time." So to say that John Dillard or his wife would allow John to have their children out on the front porch selling matches, being shoeless, that's just not the way John Dillard rolls.
And then that's the thing. Like, it's not like I'm okay. Look, this may be hard for a lot of people to get, right? But I'm what used to be called a grown up. Okay,
Oh, wow.
I have insurance for my home. I have redundancies in place if I were to lose my job, if my wife were to lose her job, if we end up homeless, I still have redundancies. There's no way on heaven or earth ever that my kids would be homeless and shoeless. Will not happen. Could not happen.
And not only did John Dillard gamble on himself and get his wife behind him, you know, he's taking a big gamble on a project that's going to sell a lot. And
it's not even like, it's a weighed and measured thing, right? It's like, okay,
yeah,
people act like going, and they laughed at Eric July for saying this. They act like as if you go to somebody that is more popular or has a big online social presence has no value.
No, it has a huge
value. If somebody like Eric July was saying, it would be different if somebody did all the work for something and then told, Joe Schmo on the corner, we're going to use your likeness and you're going to endorse this. Then if you went to somebody like Taylor Swift and said, we're going to use your likeness and you're going to endorse it, of course, she would get a bigger percent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's value in that and the reason she would get a bigger percent is because the name, the reach, the presence has value. I've been hit up by a lot of people to do collaborations. And I always have to weigh and measure. Yes, I can, but I have to, we need to put something out first to test the waters to see how it would go, right? We'll put out 3 pages and see if there's an interaction. I got to do what's right because I can't just dedicate my life to doing something that I don't know will pay off. I've seen what my books do on my own. I know how much money I can pull.
I mean, the final script is not manifested yet because I got work, man. I do things. But after you and I met, you remember on that other show where you had a good laugh in my general direction, we I was like, hey, no, I would love to work on something with you, and you were like, well, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I'd see some of your work. I said, I will go write script. I will go make a thing right now. Do you want to see it? And you were like, okay, I'll let that little theory play out, and I did.
Yeah, I don't want to read your work because I don't know anything about writing, but I want to hear your pitch. I want to hear what your plan is, right?
Exactly. And we had that conversation, and you did see my writing, and whether it is ultimately something you would use or not, it was like, you were very upfront. You're like, I'm not promising you anything. I said, no, I'm not expecting anything. I am just super enthused that somebody's interested. And you're like, okay, yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like the response to me of a reasonable person.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Well, because in the broader sense, if you want to make book, if your goal is to make a product, you'll do whatever is necessary. Which means if somebody says, "Look, I'll look at it, but I'm only going to look at it," that's good enough. If you're looking for sure things, find a different job. Get a 9 to 5. Get a go work at McDonald's. You are 100% assured to get a job at McDonald's. They're looking. You know,
Right.
if you
Because
want to make
when did trying to start something and own something and take a risk, when did that not become the American dream? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like people basically telling me, no, why don't you go work for the company store? And when they pass you a check, then you can go spend it at the company store. He's like, what the hell? I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I have gigs on the side, right? I mean, the work that I'm doing on this book for Yellow Flesh is work that I'm doing on the side because I spend 3/4 of my day working on paid work, but I also have to do unpaid work doing the Yellow Flesh stuff, right? So that I can make that book so it can become a reality. But I'm not with zero income.
right.
Like I still work. I still do other things. I still work on other people's books because I'm okay working on other people's books. I'm fine with it. I don't feel like a sense of shame because I'm working on somebody's book that's not the booklet.
You know what we need? We need to do a vanity recording of John Dillard at the table drawing, or like
Dillard
jogging
Extended
down the
Universe.
street, or like go buying his groceries, and then we need to put it to the Rocky theme, because that is your life, John.
I think so. No, I'm just kidding.
I 100% am arguing this. It's silly, but I'm arguing this. It's like, no, you are a dude who is scrappy enough and hardcore enough to make your dreams not just be dreams, and you have a supportive wife. You are the Latin American Rocky.
I feel like he's just a dude dressed up as a dude who's playing another dude.
Yeah,
That's right.
no, it's 100%.
So John, are you okay to show us some of this art that you have developed that has elevated your craft and your talent for the people here?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Right now I'm working on some other stuff for a short buckler story. Well, give me 1 second. I'm getting a call from the wife right now. 1 second.
All right.
But yeah, no, that is the thing that specifically bothered me, was when they tried to turn the beef personal, and it's like, nah, I know why they ignored John. They ignored John because he said, I'm not going to play. John has compared CG to the kids' lunchroom before, and when two kids decide to have a fight, nobody likes the one kid that says, I'm not involved. Because they always want the drama of someone being involved, right?
They do.
Sorry about that. My wife wanted to know what I wanted to eat. What are we gonna do for dinner?
Tamales. I want some tamales, John.
Oh, I'm tired of them.
Send your
I mean, you
tamales
really
to me.
tired of tamales?
I have not had an enchilada in like 4 years.
Oh.
That's a personal problem. They make those at the Mexican restaurant.
Oh no, it is. I'm just saying, like, if we're discussing food for John Dillard, enchilada would be nice.
Well, see, I said tamales because I want tamales. You said enchiladas because you're racist.
No, I said enchiladas because I actually like enchiladas.
You want to see this buckler book I'm working on?
Sure.
I mean, sure.
All right, so here's the first panel. You slap the shit out of this lady. He says, "Up and at 'em. If I'm working, you're working."
Hey, it's Vince McMahon, guys.
He's staring her down. He says, "Her eyes fixed on me. They have all of her other captors throughout her life. Smiles through bruise and cracked teeth. It's the only weapon she has left. Kind of defiance underneath all that blood and bruises really gets my goat."
You know what I like about this is it makes me feel kind of like Sin City vibes. Well, what you got going on here?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that film noir feeling where it's like some heavy shit's about to go down?
Yeah.
And he says, Must have caved your head in worse than I thought over these last couple of days. You feel like answering any questions today? All you gotta do is give me some names and you're free to go, if Mr. Willie says so. I feel like I've been pretty nice up to this point, but if you don't start giving me something, then I'm gonna have to start asking even harder. And then I'm working on the next page right now, filling up a bucket of water. She's screaming something at him, walking over with the water, splashes her, and then he's gonna be basically holding her mouth and getting all up in her face, making threats. So, barring that, let's go over to my yellow flash folder, and I'll show you the new cover I finished. Oh, here was a sketch for the cover. What do you think?
Church is the big guy for this sort of stuff.
He
Yeah,
is.
that's fucking badass.
Although I am struck by the sudden notation. Are we punching Nazis?
We are punching well, not me.
Nazis?
He is.
Right.
Well, they're not. They're fictional Nazis in an
Fictional
alternate
Nazis.
universe.
Oh, so they're not the actual real world space
Guys,
Nazis that exist.
You guys know that I've recently changed careers as of the last year and a half, and I went from just being an all-in-one, family print shop to printing fabric. They put in an order for bandanas that if you looked close enough at the bandana and you zoomed out, it looked like a fucking swastika. It was for some kind of animal organization. It was great.
Now see,
This is good stuff here.
This is a good cover, and I am certainly tempted to go back go back several subjects and say we should compare this to the Alphacore cover, because I find this way more interesting. And not just because John Dillard can actually do perspective.
I like how there's the whole three-dimensional illusion going on there up at the top.
Yeah, that's the great thing about Clip Studio. You don't need you go to like what is it, layer? You go to like I forget where it was. I mean, they basically will do a perspective for you.
The thing is that this is.
Look at, if I go to tool, look at, I got a perspective ruler right here. I can just make perspectives lines on this thing, and
but here's a question though, John. If you were tracing, can you add perspective with that tool?
It would be a lot harder.
Yeah. I'm just saying that cover is everything a comic cover should be to me.
This is one of my favorite pages. Check this out. Check out these. I'm going to show you a series of 3 pages. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
So number 1. He transforms into his ultimate form, right?
Which looks awesome.
Right. And
also, 2, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Darkhawk, a little bit.
He goes, boom! He blasts out of the cave, right? You see a little nice little tremor down here happening on the. He comes out of it.
I think I gotta say I think Yellow Flash made the right choice, even if this wasn't your wheelhouse.
He's flying up into the sky, right?
You're pulling it off with great aplomb.
Oh man!
He doesn't quite know how to use his powers just yet.
I
right?
really hope the next scene has him actually killing some Nazis, because I want to watch this guy fight Nazis now.
No, he doesn't. Look at, so he's like up in the sky. He's like, "What is this power?" Right? And he looks in his. He's like, "Oh shit! There's that fucking Nazi plane. And the Nazi plane's coming right at him. What do? He just braces for impact, right? And as he braces for impact, he just like the plane just like shreds right through him.
Well, see, this is
that is awesome.
In our conversation of Alphacore, we were talking about I mentioned one of the problems was the lack of proper sequentiality between panels, but also like between pages, where all the subjects seem really disconnected from one another, right? But let's see. Smashes out of the cave on one page, flies up into the air, is in the thick of it, and then is hit by Nazi plane.
Yeah.
We already know he's a superhero. We already know who the bad guys are, because we have the universal language of Nazis are fuckfaces, right? And then we have the intrinsic, like, the set of events that occur are interesting, and I want to see more of them. I want to watch this dude fight Nazis. And that's what I was going to say about your cover, is that your cover is everything a comic cover should be, because it has both the implication of imminent action and the menace is like, oh shit, this dude in this cool outfit is surrounded by Nazis, and they
Mhm.
look like they're going to gun him down. I want to see
Right
him
here,
get out of it, and I want
I'll
to
show
see him
you
get
the
out of it with
uncolored
violence.
pages. That way I can show them. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away. The coloring gives away some other stuff.
Yeah, don't give away stuff. We're not trying to get a free show. I'm just saying
No.
that as a comics consumer, this is the kind of thing I want to see in my comics, right?
Because I want this guy, right? I don't like drawing and working on stuff and writing stuff where the people are like incompetent or bumbling idiots, right?
Right.
So like I make sure you made a point in this book to make sure this guy, he is not confident in his new abilities, but he is competent as a man.
Right.
Right. So this is after the plane hits him, right? And he's looking back, a little smoke around. He sees the plane going down in flames here. He's like, oh shit, look at me. I got some kick to me, right?
Hell yeah.
Immediately flies over to the bombers, the Nazi bombers, right? He's like, let's see how far this goes. And he right here, he's landing on the engine part of the plane. And then the last scene, he's there on the wing. He's like, what's going on, fellas? And next page, he punches the engine. The engine flies through the bottom of the housing and explodes, and he flies away from it.
Yeah.
They shoot a missile at him, and he catches the missile in midair. It's pretty great stuff. I love it.
Well, see, therein lies the thing. This is the thesis of what you were getting at. Competency. It works both ways, right?
Mhm.
Your hero is competent. He looks confident and cool and collected, even though he's got weird new powers, right? It's very Indiana Jones or other pulp, right? But then the bad guy shot him with a missile. That means that another bad guy saw this dude land on a plane, punched that plane's engine in, and said, "Oh, I'm not waiting around to get killed. I'm also going to fight back." That's awesome, because now the villains are credible threats. They're not just tinker toys for your hero to beat up and look cool in.
Yeah. And you know what I like is you were given a challenge with this book and you stepped up. You got better with your art in this book, and that's the way it's supposed to be when you're an artist.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially with drawing this Senkai stuff with armors and the helmets. The helmet was hard. I'm not gonna lie. The helmet took me a good maybe 2 pages of redraws to figure out all the way. But yeah, now I got it.
Did it carry over? Like,
yeah,
were you able to? Okay.
Kind of like shooting a pistol, right? Like once you kind of get it, now you got it for good.
I mean, I was already going to buy this book because you were involved with it. But now that we've seen this, I really want to buy this book.
Yeah, kind of. I really the artwork alone, and not just to gas you up because we know you. The artwork alone, it's already dynamic. It's already got more personality to it than a lot of the stuff we've seen from other creators.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You could sell this to me with no text, and I would want it. As a consumer who knows that this will eventually
that's not to say that the text can't take it down a few pegs.
That's what I was about to say. It's like as a consumer who doesn't know a lot about this project, and I don't have the money to invest in it right now, I really would hope that the writing, the dialogue is up to the same quality as the art. Because if it is, oh man, $1 million this total. But if it's not, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's so much missed opportunity.
I mean, Yellow Flash has the YouTube numbers. He could do better than some of the things Eric July has sold. He's got that kind of an audience share.
I mean,
so this could sell a lot.
Yeah.
But evidently, I have Stockholm syndrome. I'm a fool to want to be a part of this project and be a part owner of this project.
I'm going to say it again. I don't think you've ever been to Stockholm. I don't know why people are saying you have Stockholm syndrome.
I'm just saying. If this book sells $1 million, the alleged breakdown is John Diller's getting $400K on this book if it sells $1 million, and it seems like a pretty good deal to me.
Well, You got to fulfill those.
We'll see.
It's
We'll see
gonna be
where
costly.
it settles. At the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
That'll be an
but
interesting thing to revisit once the numbers are clear.
yeah.
See, if
The book is
if the
fulfilled.
book nets $1 million, then I'll be getting.
And
Yeah,
here's the
that
thing.
seems like a pretty good deal to me. Seems like a pretty
Here's the
good deal to
thing.
me.
You
Not
can
gonna lie.
draw it all you want to. It's still got to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
That's
But,
another thing they were
I,
harping, because we talked about it behind the scenes. We were like, well, we had the story kind of laid out in a certain way. We wanted to trim down the fat, and I think it was going to end up being 42 pages or 46 pages. But then we got Literature Devil in, and we really kind of went over the story and chewed out some of what do we want, like establishing why you should root for this guy. There's a scene in the middle where there's this fight. And we wanted to kind of change the outcome of it. We had originally taken that fight out, and he had us put it back in. We changed some stuff just to kind of make it pacing work, almost like a it's almost paced like a Doc Samson kind of pulp.
Hell yeah.
So once that was all done, it was now going to be 60 pages. And I was like, well, I told you that I could get this work done by October. That's not, if we're upping the page count. That's not going to be the case. So I want this story to shine. I want it to be the best thing, right? I want everything to be, this is a really good book, right? I want everybody to say, this is a really good book. I'm surprised at how good this book is. So if the way to do that is to, I'm going to need us to have this book launched sometime in 2024 instead of 2023. Because we also want to have the majority of the work done so that I could be on the trail, the campaign trail, promoting this shit instead of sitting in a back room furiously working because I'm behind on stuff,
Well, I mean, that's also.
And apparently now that's a problem too. We should have just raised the funds for the book and just. I don't care.
I'm going to argue that that's actually smart thinking, expressly because of something Einbrechts here said in the chat, in response to myself about. You made your villain seem credible. He said, that's part of the reason recent Assassin's Creed was so thoroughly mocked. The enemies were jokes. Some of them didn't even react when being attacked abruptly. They just stood there and ate the attack, right? Video games are video games, but it's the same general thing. If you're doing a yearly release and each release is not up to snuff, people can tell. People know, right? If you're doing a book, right, and you want that book to be good, quite literally, the book's going to take as long as it takes. It's going to need the time. It's going to need to bake. You can't rush it. You can't.
Yeah, and it's not like. And then people were saying, "Oh, the book's late." Like we didn't even raise any money for the book. How is it late?
Yeah, but booking late.
The reason they were stating that was because we put a promo commercial out, like, "Oh, coming in 2023, this campaign," because it didn't come out in 2023. Apparently, the book's late.
How dare you tell people about a thing so they can get hype? Damn it, John.
Well, anyway, John, thank you for coming on and saying your piece about your situation. And we extended the show a little bit because you brought some good content.
I know. I'm sorry.
No,
that's fine. That's fine. That's good stuff. Anyway, it's almost 12:30 at the night, so I'm going to say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Hopefully, church is okay. I think he powered down.
Yeah.